Hello out there, YouTube. So this evening I want to make another quickish knife video. I'm trying to keep these around 10 minutes. Uh, it's a weird thing. Like sometimes you just feel like you want to ramble just because like you feel like that's the right thing to do. But ultimately I think I'd appreciate more just to keep these kind of short and sweet and just give a rundown of these things. So this knife that I want to talk about this evening is the Eric Ochs Orca. As you can see, I got this off of Drop. The Eric Ochs Orca, manufactured by Reate. Is about a 8¼ inch overall length with about 3.5 inch blade length and about 3¼ inch cutting edge. RWL 34 steel, G10 scales, and a lot of detail work, like the pivot and the thumb studs and the body screws, the liners. They're all bronzed. This is a phenomenal looking knife. Do the size comparisons. As I move, I've got about 100 knives out right now, it seems like. I just got to dig through everything. The usual suspects. Kershaw Leak. Obviously much bigger. The Benchmade Bug Out. It's obviously bigger than the Benchmade Bug Out. The Spyderco Tenacious. We're getting there, but not quite. Still bigger than the Tenacious. The Spyderco Paramilitary 2. In terms of overall length, it's right about the same. It's got a slightly longer blade and a slightly longer cutting edge, but that's a Spyderco thing. So yeah, it's a fairly good sized knife. I have another knife that I want to compare this to, and I'm gonna talk about them. But I want to talk about this one first. So this is, like I said, RWL 34 steel. I'm not real familiar with that steel. It is razor sharp, I'll tell you that much. I'm not real familiar with RWL 34. The G10 scales, they feel great, they look great. There's this texturing on the top of it. The ergonomics on this thing are spot on. This narrow pocket clip sits pretty flush, and it kind of curves along with the palm of your hand, the meat of your palm, and it really is ergonomically very nice. It's got this Tonto blade shape, or not Tonto, torpedo type of blade shape. And I will say this false edge up here is not far off of being an actual sharpened top edge. Like it's pretty good. I mean, it's not obviously anywhere close to that, but it is surprisingly closer to a sharpened edge than just your standard swedge. This action, it's on bearings, and let me just tell you, this action is fully fall shut. Well, got to give it just a little bit of a coax sometimes. Got to get that finger out of the way. Yeah, this can be, more often than not, this action is fully fall shut. It's a liner lock, titanium liner lock. Locks up pretty well. It's a little bit shallower than I'd like, but I mean, it'll work over on its own, and it's nice and solid. No blade play up and down, side to side. This is a fantastic knife. I would venture to say, as far as in terms of liner locks, this is a top 3 knife for me. I compare this very closely with the Spyderco Magnitude. I hit my cord, which I have the pivot too tight on. I have to figure out how to deal with this cord. So, yeah, like I said, I've got the pivot too tight on this thing. This was drop shut, and then I took it apart and cleaned it up. But size-wise, the Magnitude's just a little bit bigger, but they're both just fancy. Oddly, well, I guess not that oddly, the Orca has the same blade length as the Magnitude and a smaller handle. But again, that's a Spyderco way. Yeah, I would say the Magnitude is a very close competitor. It's, you know, in terms of its fit and finish, its general build quality and design, these two knives are very similar. This knife on drop, $200. I don't remember. I paid this was a secondary market deal for me, so that price is unreliable, inconsistent at best. But yeah, this knife has confirmed I am very interested in just about anything that Eric Ochs has designed. Ochs? I don't know how to say it. I think it's Ochs. I'm interested in just about any of Eric Ochs' knife designs. He's done a little bit with CRKT. He's got a couple of this one and the links that I saw on drop. As soon as I can have the opportunity to get the links off of drop, I'm going to do that. I will say this much: with drop, if you're buying from drop and it's coming from overseas, be prepared for it to take a long time. This knife took every bit of 6 weeks to get. And that's actually pretty good, since these scales that I got from Russia took over 2 months. So 6 weeks or so. Just like I said, just be prepared for this to take some time. But yeah, this knife has sold me on Reate as a manufacturer, on Eric Ochs as a designer. Another Eric Ochs knife that I have is CRKT. What is this one called? Avant. I'll tell you what, the action on this is surprisingly good for being a budget knife, for a sub $80 knife. Again, I'll get into CRKTs. My intention is to get into the CRKTs kind of as a whole, because I have a few CRKTs that I'm supremely impressed with, and they're kind of based off of designer. This is another Eric Ochs design, and it's actually, this one may be a little bit more like the Lynx, I forget, but Yeah, if you're looking for a super high quality knife and you're not necessarily in any big rush to get it, there is another variant of this that has the Timascus pivot collar, the Timascus pocket clip, and I want to say it's carbon fiber. I could be wrong, but I want to say that. But it was like 280 bucks, and I wasn't really in it for that. I actually preferred the way this looked. But yeah, this knife is fantastic. The only problem I really have with this knife is that these thumb studs are just about worthless. Like, you have to put so much force into getting it off of the shut detent, and the studs are in kind of a weird spot, low down. Like, and I'm always afraid that it's going to pop and I'm going to slide my thumb across the blade. Just stick with flipper tab. It's fantastic. Yeah, the fidget factor is high on this because the action is so clean and so smooth. Like I said, if you're looking for a really, really solid $200 knife and you're not in any rush to get it, take a look at the Eric Ochs Orca from Reate on drop. It is quite good. Next episode or next video, I think I'm going to talk about another Voxnez. If you hadn't picked up, I'm a big fan of Emerson and Voxnez and now Eric Ochs. If you guys have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comments below, and y'all have a great night.